John Deere reacting tonight, the company, after a reaction after former President Donald Trump said earlier this week he would impose a 200% tariff on the company if it moves production to Mexico.
I'm just notifying John Deere right now. If you do that, we're putting a 200% tariff on everything that you want to sell into the United States.
First at 11, Deere & Company is responding to former President Donald Trump's threat to put a 200% tariff on products the company tries to sell into the U.S.
John Deere's signature green and yellow machines have long symbolized the industrious heartland of the United States. But on April 5th, 2025, a seismic shift shook this proud legacy. The brand's plan to deepen its overseas footprint sparked an incendiary response from a former president who vowed to slam John Deere with a 200% tariff on any goods produced abroad. This unexpected salvo set off shockwaves across the farming community. John Deere, an icon woven into the tapestry of American agriculture, suddenly found itself painted as disloyal and unpatriotic. Farmers who had trusted the brand for generations faced a stark choice: stand by the company they rely on, or heed the rallying cry of populist outrage. And now, fresh rumors swirl that Deere is forging ahead with an international showcase on April 7th, refusing to bow to political pressures. Stick around because this confrontation is about to upend everything we thought we knew about American manufacturing.
You know, we have employees and customers in over 130 countries. We have operations located in around 30 countries where we have factories and offices. And our number one goal is to make sure that we're structuring our business in those markets as times change.
Donald Trump's declaration at a campaign appearance in Pennsylvania set the tone. If John Deere insists on expanding overseas, it will pay dearly. Rumors of additional cost burdens and talk of imposing a crushing 200% levy on equipment built beyond U.S. borders gave the longtime farming staple a stark ultimatum. Hardline supporters roared their approval, calling for the company to return to real American values. Yet the conflict intensified almost immediately when John Deere clarified on April 5th that it has no plans to move production to Mexico, directly contradicting rumors fueling the tariff threat. Some had expected a swift backtrack from corporate executives, but John Deere doubled down instead, emphasizing that its global presence has existed for decades and that it intends to remain competitive on the world stage. In the midst of this maelstrom, a cascade of questions emerged. Will an all-out trade war erupt, punishing not only the company, but also the very farmers who count on spare parts and new machinery? Memories of the steel and aluminum tariffs from a few years ago linger, reminders of how protective measures can sometimes backfire, hiking costs for domestic manufacturers. For John Deere, once a champion of rural prosperity, such a move could threaten to alienate its most loyal customer base. But for Trump, the symbolic weight of kneecapping an American stalwart might reinforce his America First campaign message. The collision course is set. A decades-old farming icon stands against an ex-president seeking to reignite nationalist fervor. Each side accuses the other of disregarding the core promise of prosperity and stability for American workers. All the while, farmers sit in limbo, unsure whom to trust. Leading this tense showdown is, of course, Donald Trump, whose fierce protectionist stance and campaign rhetoric have found renewed life in John Deere's expansion plans. His supporters claim that tough tariffs are necessary to protect domestic jobs. Yet, ironically, the very day after those fiery remarks, local news in Iowa confirmed that 100 workers at a Deere facility were laid off.
According to the Iowa Ward website, 112 workers in Waterloo will be out of a job on January 3rd. John Deere, in a statement, attributed the need for the cuts to continued lack of product demand.
Not because of Mexico-bound production, but amid shifting corporate strategies that the company claims are essential for remaining competitive. This revelation complicated Trump's narrative of cornering Deere into submission, evidence that not every move abroad can be halted by sheer political force. John Deere's leaders remain unapologetic about their global reach. They've been in more than 30 countries for years, offering products in over 130 nations. To them, forging deeper ties in booming agricultural markets like Brazil, India, and China is not betrayal, it is survival. Reportedly, internal discussions are laser-focused on how to reduce overhead costs, streamline supply chains, and counter rising manufacturing expenses in the United States. The company's expansion strategy had been in motion well before public threats of tariffs. Indeed, John Deere has poured resources into automation and new age power solutions, unveiling cutting-edge autonomous machines as recently as the Consumer Electronics Show this January. Executives believe these advancements will future-proof the brand. Critics respond that such innovations leave rural American workers stranded, replaced by robotics and outsourced labor. Caught in the crossfire are farmers who have lived and breathed with John Deere for generations. Through droughts, floods, wars, and shifting international trade policies, that brassy logo on a tractor's hood meant strength and reliability. Now the brand's American allegiance is drawn into question. For some, the bond to Deere outweighs political affiliations. After all, their livelihood depends more on reliable equipment than on any warring politician's viewpoint. Others, however, feel stung by any hint of overseas prioritization. Farmer associations across the Midwest find themselves addressing a wave of concerned calls about possible price hikes if new tariffs are levied. Yet even among the staunchest supporters of Trump's platform, there's unease over the possibility that a 200% penalty might kneecap their own ability to buy the very tractors they need. Political loyalty is one thing, economic survival is another. Then there are the investors who see John Deere's overseas move not as treachery, but as a natural step in a future of globalized high-tech farming. Some analysts point to John Deere's upcoming presence at a major trade show on April 7th, promising a demonstration of global capabilities and advanced machinery designed to reduce costs in rapidly evolving markets. Financial markets react in real time. Stock prices tremble at each rumor of sweeping tariffs, then recover on news of fresh overseas deals. Even longtime shareholders remain on edge, torn between the profitable benefits of expansion and the brand's battered image among loyal U.S. farming communities. While the debate has largely centered on American jobs and loyalties, the situation reverberates far beyond U.S. borders. Political watchers warn that if the United States penalizes John Deere with such a steep tariff, major agricultural powers around the globe might retaliate, raising their own barriers. Mexico has already shown its willingness to respond to past tariff threats, and whispers of countermeasures rekindle memories of trade wars that reverberated throughout the global economy. In an interconnected world, a company like John Deere cannot simply retract its overseas connections without severe consequences. Brazil, India, and China loom large in Deere's expansion plans. They also represent the fastest growing agricultural markets, where automation, data-driven farming, and power solutions have surged in demand. In many ways, the mania over John Deere's disloyalty underscores a deeper paradox. As farming technology evolves, the world's appetite for advanced machinery accelerates, yet profits from these sectors often flow to corporations that have diversified beyond their homeland. Some agriculture experts note that the future of food production depends on scalable industrial capabilities, resources that are more efficiently managed when an enterprise leverages multiple global hubs. Economic tensions spill into broader discussions about bringing manufacturing back to the United States. Yet many insiders argue that automation negates the effect of returning factories to American soil. Robots and streamlined processes require fewer human hands, rendering nostalgic visions of large-scale job revival incomplete. Trump's stance might gratify those who yearn for the glory days of booming American industry, but with overseas trade fueling a significant share of corporate profits, radical moves could push companies to relocate even more of their operations. For farmers, the global reach of Deere has historically led to cost savings and advanced machinery that keep them competitive on the world stage. Yet if tariffs escalate to punishing heights, the cost burden could spike for domestic buyers. The conflict, therefore, has become a microcosm of how protective measures can unintentionally squeeze small businesses and families. And as the April 7th showcase approaches, where John Deere is expected to unveil fresh power solutions and highlight new autonomous capabilities, the conversation shifts from mere speculation to real, unfolding drama. Investors watch closely, farmers brace for disruptions, and political figures jockey for moral high ground. The present standoff teeters on a knife's edge. On one side, the White House hopeful reaffirms his resolute stance. If John Deere continues ramping up production beyond American shores, there will be consequences in the shape of punishing import duties. On the other side, Deere's leadership seems prepared to accept short-term backlash if it ensures global competitiveness. Already, some watchers predict that the brand might risk losing chunks of its rural U.S. market share to competitors who emphasize a strictly domestic supply chain. However, The power of John Deere's ecosystem, software, parts, training, is so entrenched that mass defections are far from certain. Meanwhile, farmers in affected areas plead for clarity. Some vow to stick with Deere no matter what, citing reliability and the expense of switching to another brand. Others express anger at any sign of betrayal, calling for boycotts. As another planting season looms for many crops, the pricing of new tractors, combines, and replacement parts grows more critical by the day. Without a swift resolution, smaller farms might face a tipping point, forced to hold on to older, less efficient equipment or invest in imports from alternative manufacturers at an uncertain cost. All eyes now turn to the impending BOMBSHELL showcase on April 7th, where John Deere is expected to broadcast its global ambitions on full display. Will that event spark further provocations from Trump, or might behind-the-scenes negotiations diffuse this glaring standoff? As this drama unfolds, the stakes reach beyond one company or one political figure. They touch the core of what it means to remain competitive in a world reshaped by technology and international demand. Will tariffs truly defend the American workforce? Or will they trigger an even more rapid offshore pivot that leaves communities in the dust? Will John Deere's towering reputation endure, or is this the beginning of a profound shift in farm machinery loyalty? A final whisper has emerged. Some engineers hint that John Deere's drive toward automation could further reduce U.S. labor needs, cutting deeper than any single factory move. That possibility hangs like a storm cloud over proud farming regions. Does the future of American farming lie in forging global alliances, or in sealing the borders with steel tariffs and relentless political pressure? The answer may not be simple, and the final chapter is still unwritten. In the end, one thing is clear. The fate of an iconic brand and the farmers who depend on it has become entwined in a larger clash of visions for America's future. Will this standoff spur a renaissance in domestic manufacturing, or will it deliver a blow that no tariff can mend? Only time will tell.